Welcome back to another class on Gemara Journey with Rashi. We are in Masechet Berachot in Daf Amud Bet. This will be part 10 of the Shi'ur. In part 8, where we began this piece of learning and it continued into part 9, we started speaking about over there where Rabbi Chelbo said in the name of Rav Huna that anybody who joins a meal made by the Chatan and he does not make him happy, he is mizalzel in the 5 kolot. Now I'm not going to go over the Pesukim because we already did it. This is in part 8. This is in part 9. Today we're going to be doing part 10. So if you see me not translating the Pesukim, because we have already done it in the previous class. So when Rabbi Chelbo said in the name of Rav Huna that if one goes ahead and he feasts in the su'udah of a chatan, but he does not make him happy, Rabbi Chelbo said in the name of Rav Huna, over bechamisha kolot, he transgresses the 5 kolot. Rashi explained he's mizalzel, he belittles the 5 kolot. What were the 5 kolot? Kol sason, kol simcha, kol chatan, kol kala, kol omrim hodu et Hashem tzevot. So we see over here that you have 5 kolot. That if a person is not misameh chatan v'kala, he is belittling the 5 kolot. Came Rabbi Shua ben Levi and he said, what happens if a person is misameh chatan v'kala? He's zochel le Torah. How do we know he's zochel le Torah? How do we know he's going to marry the Torah? Because the pasuk says, "Vayi bayom hashlishi behayot haboker, vayi kolot uberakim, ve'anan kaved al har, ve'kol shofar chazak meod, vayichared kol ha'am asher b'machaneh, vayihi kol hashofar holech v'chazek meod, Moshe yidaber, ve'elokim yanenu bekol." This was at the time when the Jewish people received the Torah. And we see over there you have 5 kolot also. How? Kolot is plural. 1, 2. Kol, 3. Another kol, 4. And another kol, 5. So Rabbi Shua ben Levi says, anybody who's misameh chatan v'kala, he's zochel Torah. How do I know he's zochel Torah? Because on the 3rd day from when men abstain from their wives, when the Jewish people were going to receive the Torah, it says over there also 5 kolot. So these 5 kolot correspond to these 5 kolot. So if one is misameh chatan v'kala, he's going to be blessed with the 5 kolot, which represents the Torah. Today we want to continue in the new piece. The Gemara asks a question. Ini, is that so? Are you telling me right now that there are only 5 kolot when the Jewish people have received the Torah? It was only 5 kolot? That can't be the case. Why? Because isn't it written, it clearly says, and the whole nation saw the kolot. So it comes out over here, and this is a different pasuk. It was also during the time of Matan Torah. And the whole nation saw the kolot. How much is this kolot? Plural should be 2. If this is 2 and this is 5, if I have 5 plus 2, it's going to give me 7. So, why did Rabbi Shua ben Levi said that during Matan Torah there were only 5 kolot? That is not true. It was actually more. You have over here clearly says kolot, which is plural, 2 more. So before we answer the question, let's go see this pasuk, because this we did not do, not in part 8 and not in part 9. The Torah or Shalom in Ot Samech, he says, go look into Sefer Shemot in Perek Chav and pasuk Tet Vav. So I have it in the Sefer Mikraot on page Dalet. It says over there like this: V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, ve'et ha'lepidim, ve'et kol ha'shofar, ve'et ha'har ashen, v'ya'ar ha'am, v'yanu'u v'ya'amdu mirachok. So besides this kolot, there's more kolot over here. Doesn't matter, we're going to stick with this. But the bottom line is, we see that there were more than 5 kolot. So how can Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi say that if somebody is misamech Hatam v'Kala, he's zoicha lechamisha kolot, which is presenting the Torah? That can't be the case, because there were more than 5 kolot. So how do you correspond to the 5 kolot that HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed the Jewish people in the future? So what does this pasuk mean? V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot. Let's see it inside with the Mefarish. When it says over here, ro'in et hakolot, what does it mean that the whole nation, they saw the sound? What does that mean? So he says over here, ro'in et hanishma. They saw that which had to be heard. They literally saw. When a person speaks, when I'm speaking right now, you can't see it, but they saw it. Ro'in et hanishma. They saw that which had to be heard. You're not able to see in any other place. You'll never have a situation again like this where people are going to be able to go ahead and see the sounds. So it says over here, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, and the whole nation, they saw the kolot, meaning they saw that which had to be heard. What is hakolot? Over here, the commentary wants to explain hakolot over here means hayotzi'in mipi hagevura, the sound, the voice that came out from HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'et matan Torah, at the time of giving the Torah. The thing is, this is the way he wants to understand it, but you have to remember, Rabotai, we'll see right now, that this kolot, when we did it in part 9, it means thunder. So let me do this. Let me just do this 1 second. This means thunder. This, the way we're understanding it with the commentary right now, means mipi hagevura. This means that from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mouth, it came out. So when it says over here, V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, and the whole nation, they saw the sound, hayotzi'in mipi hagevura, that came out from Hashem's mouth, be'ed matan Torah, at the time of giving of the Torah. What does it mean that besides them seeing the kolot, also they saw ve'et lapidim? What is the lapidim? So the commentary says, esh gedula, it's a great fire, big fire. But then it continues, ve'et kol ha-shofar, and they also saw the call of the shofar, the sound of the shofar, ve'et har ashen, and they also saw the mountain was in smoke, vaya'ar ha'am, and the nation was afraid, vayana'u. What does it mean, vayana'u? Ein nu'ah ela loshen ze'ah. Whenever you see the language nu'ah, he's telling you it's a language of trembling, meaning that the nation was afraid and they were trembling, vaya'amundu merachok, and they stood from afar. Why were they standing from afar? So the commentary says, hayu nitra'in la'achorechem, because they recoiled backwards. They moved backwards outside of the camp from hearing HaKadosh Baruch Hu give the first 2 commandments. Rabotai, now this was this pasuk that we just explained. Having this in mind, let's go back to the Gemara. I just wanted to do the pasuk. As usual, anytime you learn the Gemara, try to always know the pasuk. Yesterday, I was learning with the guys in Masechet Kiddushin. It's nuts. In Masechet Kiddushin, in Daf Memtet Amud Aleph, all the way towards the bottom, mamash towards the bottom, over there the Gemara says anybody's going to go ahead and translate the Torah to its literal translation, Badaihu, he's a shakran, he's a liar. Why? Because you could never translate the Torah in its original form. For example, when it says V'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot, and the whole nation, they saw the sound or the voice, you can't just say this. There is much more to this. That's why we have commentaries. You can't just come and translate it on your own. That's why we have Targum Onkelos, Rashi. You have sometimes a person, he goes and he learns the Chumash and he says, oh, that's exactly what it says. No. Yes, that's the definition, but that's not the explanation. Defining a word is not exactly the same thing as understanding that word. That's why we need Targum Onkelos. That's why we need Rashi to explain to us what the Chumash is saying. In any event, Rabotai, why am I telling you this? Because a lot of times when a person learns Chumash, they always come with questions. Rabbi, but the Chumash is like this. How can the rabbi go against? How can the rabbis go against this? The rabbis are not going against it. Number one, you don't even know how to learn. You're reading the English, not knowing what's left to right, and you think you already got the pshat. How can the rabbis go against? The rabbis go with the commentary. They don't go with the simple understanding of what the Chumash says. For example, right, it says, "V'hayu le'ot ben enecha," that there should be a sign between your eyes. What does it mean between your eyes? Literal translation should mean between your eyes. But Kamar Chachamim, and they tell us between your eyes means right over here, above your head. That the tefillin has to be above your head. Again, there's many situations regarding the Brit Milah that you should cut the orla, the most softest skin part of the body. Okay, good. The earlobe is also soft. Why not cut the ear? The top of the finger, it's also soft. Right over here, the skin. Why not cut this? Again, it's not, Rabotai, it's not normal what we see today, especially people that are reading English. And even though, Rabotai, sometimes I check the English, if you do the English on top, and if you do the commentary on the bottom, you'll see that there's two different understandings. On the bottom, the commentary, they start explaining what the verse in the Torah is saying. You know, let me see if I could get the Kiddush. I just want to read it for you guys inside, because it is very important for one to know this. We have this a lot of times. People think they know Chumash, and how can Chachamim say differently? The Chumash was given like this. Why are the rabbis changing the Torah? The rabbis are not changing the Torah. Just because you are an illiterate and you cannot learn doesn't mean the rabbis are changing the Torah. You haven't even opened up one book. You don't even know what the Targum Onkelos is saying. You know what Rashi is saying. Automatically, but this is the definition. That is the problem today, Rabotai. We go by the definition. You have to understand, it's not the definition, Rabotai. It's the understanding of that word. To define it's one thing, but to understand the meaning behind that word is a whole different ball game. Here we go, Rabotai. Daf Memtet Amud Aleph, all the way on the bottom. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Hamitargem pasuk kitzurato." Anybody who translates the verse the way it is, harei ze bada, he's a shakran. He is a liar. V'amosif alav, but one who adds to it, meaning Rashi says, once a person understands that the Chachamim were given the power, for example, like the Onkelos, he was given the power to go ahead and translate the Torah. So okay, and if you ever do the Targum Onkelos, you'll see he adds also words to the Torah. So you're going to go ahead and you say, oh, so he added, so I'm also going to add. The Gemara says no. This person is shaming Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah. This person is shaming HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah, and he's chas v'shalom also cursing him. We have no right to ever translate the Torah the way we want it. We always have to go with the path of Onkelos. Rashi does say, so how did Onkelos translate it? So really, Onkelos, the translation, the Targum, was really given to the Jewish people on Har Sinai. Then the translation got lost, and Onkelos went back and he instituted. He had the zechut to go back and institute, but the Targum was always there. The translation was always there. Okay, Rabotai, I just wanted to bring that out. Always remember, whenever you are learning the Pesukim in the Gemara, always go ahead and try to know the reason behind it. Try to understand what the pasuk is going to. So when you're learning the piece of the Gemara, you'll have a better appreciation in understanding it even better. Okay, so let's get back into here. The Gemara says, Ini, is that so? Do you want to tell me that there are only 5 kolot? So therefore, you, Rabbi Shub ben Levi, is saying to me that one who's Misamech Adam Kala, Zochel Torah. Why is he Zochel Torah? Because in Kabbalah, in Har Sinai, when we received the Torah, there were also 5 kolot. So this 5 kolot correspond to these 5 kolot. This is speaking about Misamech Hatam V'Kala. Over here is the 5 kolot regarding the Torah. So anybody who's Misamech Hatam V'Kala is going to be blessed with the Torah with the 5 kolot. The Gemara says, Ini, is that so? 1 second. But isn't it written, V'chol ha'amru'im et kolot? It clearly says what I just showed you, and the whole nation, they saw the kolot. According to the commentary, what we understood, he wanted to say, Ro'im et kolot mipi ha'gevura. They saw the kolot from the mouth of Hashem. So this is extra 2, so you have really 7. So maybe Rabbi Shua ben Levi, maybe you don't have a good proof that these 5 kolot correspond to these 5 kolot. So therefore, if that is the case, how do you know one is Zochel Torah when he's Misamech Hatam V'Kala? Maybe now they're 2 separate things. Comes the Gemara answers, and the Gemara says, no. Otan kolot, those kolot. The Kodem Matan Torah Havu, they were prior to Matan Torah. I want to show you something, Rabotai. We're going to do something, just again, I went with the commentary in the back of the book, but the way the Gemara wants to answer this now, the Gemara says, Otan kolot, we want to say that these kolot are completely different kolot. Comes the Gemara says, no. Otan kolot, kodem matan Torah havu. These kolot were prior to the receiving of the Torah. These kolot and these kolot are one and identical. That's why I put 2 lines under and an asterisk, if you guys can see. This kolot and these kolot right over here, they're one and the same. So really, you're not adding, it's really 5. These are the same ones. Let's see what Rashi has to say, and then we'll get back into it. Rashi says, in Dibra Matchil, Otan kolot de kodem matan Torah havu. Those kolot were prior to Matan Torah. Comes Rashi and he says like this. Hanech kolot batra'ei. These later kolot. This is the later kolot. If you guys want to hear something funny, excuse me, I think it's my 4th time. This is my 4th time, my 4th round of doing Masechet Berachot by now. Baruch Hashem B'lein Haram. Why am I saying that? As I was doing this piece, I got stuck on it. I really got stuck on it. So I called one big Talmud Chacham and I called another big rabbi to make sure that I have the good pshat in understanding this Gemara. After doing the Mesivta and everything, I try to understand. Even I tried to use ArchCode to go ahead and better understand this. So I didn't think I had it clear. So I called this big Talmud Chacham. I said, you did Masechet Berachot? He said, of course. I asked him this question. He said, Rabbi, this is a deep question. Whatever. It's a nice piece. So I called this a very big rabbi, very big posek. I think it was maybe 45 minutes I was with him on the phone arguing with him. He was trying to tell me Pshat, but I said it doesn't make sense because it doesn't fit into the Rashi. We were going back and forth. Until in the end, he said, let me go open up the Gemara and so on and so forth. And he said, what you're saying is more correct. So, why am I telling this, Rabotai? Even the 4th time around, I understood the Peshat better now. It might be your zechut, because I had to review, and at the same time I have to record, so I have to be careful that I know my stuff when I'm recording it. So just to double check, I called this Talmud Chacham and this big rabbi. But the funny part is, this rabbi did Masechet Berachot many times, not 4 times, maybe 10 or maybe 20 times. And it's not, he just passed through this piece. As I was speaking to him, he said, now that you said it, now you grabbed my attention. There is a difference when you learn slow with quality versus fast with quantity. You miss these small points. In any event, Rabotai, let's get back. I just want to show you that every time, whenever you go back and you review and you review and you review, you're always going to find something new. It's nuts. I told this to the rabbi. He said, you want to hear something funny? He said he's doing Masechet Ketubot for the 6th time or maybe 7th time already. He said for the first time after 6, 7 times doing Masechet Ketubot, there was a 3-word Rashi that bothered him. He said, I don't know up to now how I understood it. He said, now it really bothered me. Something didn't make sense. So he tried to go look up Meforshim. So he found a rabbi from Israel that wrote a whole book on the 3 words of Rashi this thick, explaining what Rashi was trying to say. 3 words, Rabotai. But he said, look what Chazar does. When you go back and again, you appreciate the Torah learning that you do. It's not, you have this satisfaction, if I can say. Okay, so let's get back to this. Up to now we've been learning that this is Mipei Gvura, we're going to take that, we're going to erase it. Now that the Gemara is answering that these kolot and these kolot are one and the same, comes Rashi, and Rashi says like this. Hanech kolot batra'e. These last kolot, later kolot, these are, batra'e means later. Ha'inu are the same. Hanech da'ari behul el. These kolot are the same that we're speaking about prior to this. It is these kolot. One more time. Hanech kolot batra'e. These later kolot, ha'inu are the same as hanech, as these, the Ari Lehu Be'el, that we were speaking about them above. So these kolot are identical with these kolot. They're one and the same kolot. So if they're one and the same kolot, don't ask me over here, don't tell me over here, that's supposed to be 7. It's not 7. Really, it's only 5. Really, we're going back down to 5. Now Rabbi Shul ben Levi, everything's good with him. How this is 5 and this is 5. So if you're Mesamech Kala, you're Zochel the Torah because it was given with 5 kolot. Comes the Gemara Rashi actually says, I don't get it. If these are the same kolot, why did you have to go ahead and tell me again the word kolot? So Rashi says, beautiful, Rabotai. 1 second, boys. Rabotai, Torah is so beautiful. Rashi says, you know what happened over here? V'ka'amar did nir'in hayu. One more time. V'ka'amar did nir'in hayu. You know when the Torah over here comes and he says, V'chola amru'im et kolot? The reason why it's coming the second time around is trying to explain to you what this prior kolot had, that they were seenable. Even though a kol, a sound you can't see, prior to Matan Torah, the kol, the sound, was able to be seen. So let's do that Rashi one more time. These later kolot are the same as these prior kolot. The reason why it was said again is just to tell you that these kolot were seenable. Even though kol cannot be seen, this was actually seen. Bottom line is, this and this are one and the same. We go back down to 5 kolot. Okay. So let's just do that inside one more time. The Gemara says, Ini, is that true that there's only 5 kolot? But isn't it written, kolot, and the whole nation, they saw the kolot, so add 2 more. Gemara says, no, otan kolot, those kolot, the kodem matan Torah have. This were prior to Matan Torah, so to this was prior to Matan Torah. Why did you have to go ahead and say these kolot if this is one and the same? These kolot just came to explain what these kolot were, to teach us that they were actually seenable. V'chol ha'am ro'im et kolot, and the whole nation saw the kolot. Which kolot? Prior to Matan Torah, these kolot right over here. All right, Rabotai, that is done. Let's move to the next piece. The Gemara continues, Rabbi Abahu said, anybody who's misameh chatam v'kala, ki'ilu hikriv todah, it's as if you have sacrificed a korban todah, a sacrifice of thanksgiving offering. Shenimar, like the pasuk says, Mivi'im toda beit Hashem. Now, Rabotai, we did do this pasuk in part 8 of the shur. I'm not going to go through the whole pasuk again. I'm going to read it in Hebrew, but if you want to know the whole translation back and forth with the insights, please listen to part 8. We said, when it says kol sason v'kol simcha kol chatan v'kol kala, kol omrim hodet Hashem tzevaot ki tov Hashem ki leolam chasdo. Here we go. I made it different color and I'll show you why. Mivi'im toda beit Hashem. This right over here is dealing in which pasuk? In the pasuk of samech chatan v'kala. So comes Rabbi Abahu and he says, anybody who's misamech chatan v'kala, ki'ilu hikriv toda, it's as if you brought as a sacrifice a thanksgiving offering. How do we know? Shenemar, because towards the end of this pasuk of kol sason v'kol simcha, over there it says towards the end, mivi'im toda beit Hashem. So if a person is not misamech chatan v'kala, you mizalzel in the chamisha kolot. But if you go the other way around, what happens if you are misamech chatan v'kala? Then it's as if you brought a korban todah. I learned that from the pasuk itself. If you look into Rashi says, Mivi'im todah beit Hashem, ki ashiv et shuvuat v'gomer. Right? You have to finish the pasuk. I wrote it for us over here. Mivi'im todah beit Hashem, ki ashiv et shuvuat ha'aretz, kabarishana amar Hashem. So comes Rashi and he says, Sefer dikra di chamisha kolot dil'elhu. This verse of Mivi'im Todah, etc., is the end of the Chamisha Kolot that we spoke about on top in part 8 of the Shur. I wrote it over here. This line over here, the blue, is the end of the verse of the pink. So like I just said, Kol Sason, Kol Simcha, etc., this is the end of that verse. That's all Rashi is saying. So let's continue back into the Gemara. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, Ki'ilu bana achad michurovot Yerushalayim. Rav Nachman, the son of Yitzchak, says, anyone who is misamech chatan v'kala, it's as if you have built one of the ruins in Yerushalayim. How do we know? Shenemar, like the pasuk says, Ki ashiv et shuvat ha'aretz kabarishuna amar Hashem. Right over here. Ki ashiv et shuvat ha'aretz kabarishuna amar Hashem. Same thing. Mivi'im todah beit Hashem is part of the pasuk of kol sason v'kol simcha. Ki hashiv et shuvat ha'aretz keberishna amar Hashem is also part of the pasuk kol sason v'kol simcha. So Rabbi Abahu wants to learn anybody who's misamech chatan v'kala. From this pasuk he's going to learn out it's as if you brought a korban todah, a thanksgiving offering. Rav Nachman, the son of Yitzchak, is going to tell you it's as if you build one of the ruins in Yerushalayim. From where do we know that? From the end of the pasuk. Ki hashiv et shuvat ha'aretz keberishna amar Hashem. I just want to show you something. Pay attention. I'm not translating this because I'm assuming you guys did part 8. But this is the beauty when you already know it in Hebrew. It becomes that much more sweeter. Rabotai, we do conclude with this. Let's go over the piece from part 8. Part 9 and today's part 10, and with this we will conclude. Bottom line, we just have to remember, Rabotai, anybody who's misamech chatan v'kala, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Zochel Torah. A lot of us want to have the zuchut in the hand of the Torah. You wanted, Rabotai, make a chatan and kala happy. Rabbi Abahu said, if you're misamech chatan v'kala, ki'ilu hikriv todah. Today you cannot sacrifice anything to Hashem. Yes, you can. If you make chatan v'kala happy, you are bringing a thanksgiving offering. Everybody likes to say, thank you Hashem, thank you Hashem, thank you Hashem. Rabotai, the real thank you Hashem is in your actions, not only in your words. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said, Rav Nachman, the son of Yitzchak, said, if you are misamech chatan v'kala, ki'ilu bana achad michurovot Yerushalayim. We all feel bad what is going on in Eretz Yisrael, especially if it happens in Yerushalayim. If you want to be able to build one of the ruins in Yerushalayim, be misamech chatan v'kala. Okay. Rabotai, it took us 3 shiurim. But after we know it, look how beautiful and simple this Gemara becomes. Ve'amar Rabbi Chelba Amar Rav Huna, and Rabbi Chelba said in the name of Rav Huna, Kol hanehena misudat chatan, anyone who delights or takes pleasure from a meal of a chatan, ve'eno misamecho, and you do not make him happy, over b'chamisha kolot, he transgresses the 5 kolot. Like Rashi explained, you are mizalzel, you belittle the 5 kolot. Shenema, like the pasuk says, kol sason ve'kol simcha, kol chatan ve'kol kala, kol omrim hodu et Hashem tzevaot. Period. Ve'im mesamcho masechet, the Gemara continues, and if you make the chatan happy, what is your reward? Am Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said, Zoche la Torah. He has a zuchut in the Torah. He has zuchut for the Torah. He's going to be able to learn it, understand it, apply it to his daily life. Shenitna b'chamisha kolot, because the Torah was given to us with 5 kolot. Shenema, like the pasuk says, Vayhi bayom hashlishi biyot haboker, Vayhi kolot ubirakim va'anan kaved al har, v'kol shofar v'gomer. Vayhi kol shofar v'gomer, v'Elohim yanenu b'kol. Period. The Gemara says, Ini, is that so? Was it only given to us with 5 kolot? V'haketiv, but isn't it written, V'chol amru imet kolot, that the whole nation, they saw the kolot. So we see clearly it's not only 5, it's more. The Gemara says, Otan kolot, those kolot, the prior kolot, the kodem matan Torah havu, they were prior to the giving of the Torah, and all this pasuk did was come to emphasize that those kolot, the Jewish people were able to actually see it. Rabbi Abahu said, anybody who's misameh chatan v'kala, ki'ilu hikriv todah, it's as if he sacrificed a thanksgiving offering. Shenema, like the pasuk says, mivi'im todah beit Hashem. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Rav Nachman the son of Yitzchak said, if one is misameh chatan v'kala, ki'ilu bana achad michurvot Yerushalayim, it's as if you have built one of the ruins in Yerushalayim. Shenema, like the pasuk says, ki ashiv es shuvat haaretz kabarishona amar Hashem. Rabotai, look how simple it is once you do it well. Have a great day. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen.